Good morning. It's that time again where we talk matter sports every Monday. And as usual, we have our resident analyst, Milton Nyakundi, to help us understand what is going on. I'm your presenter, Robin Toskin. And today we'll be talking about a very serious issue that touches on the corruption that is rampant in football. And we are talking about that in the context that the Swiss prosecutors have opened fresh investigations into former FIFA president, that is Sept Blatter, for suspected criminal mismanagement of funds over a decade-old $1 million payment. The probe opened last month is connected with a loan FIFA gave to the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association in 2010, which was given interest-free and with no collateral, and was quickly forgiven as a subsidy in a document seen by the Associated French Press, France Press. This marks the latest in a string of allegations of improper FIFA-linked payments to Trinidad's long-serving FIFA official Jack Warner, who has been banned from football for life and is battling extradition to the United States from his native Trinidad. Swiss prosecutors have opened a fresh investigation targeting Blatter because of all those misdemeanors, or what, if you want to call them, criminal conduct towards the use of money. Now, the question is, can Kenya pursue FIFA officials who have been indicted, or even open criminal proceedings against Football Kenya officials, both past and present, for the kind of misconduct that has been alleged against them? And that is where we begin our discussion. And Milton Nyakundi, you as a journalist of long-standing, good standing too, done this for so many years. The Swiss are not yet through with Sept Blatter because of that $1 million that was paid to Trinidad and Tobago. Well,
Robin, the bottom line is that, I mean, for me, and it's been very interesting reading the latest developments as far as the probe of Blatter and the people that were accused or arrested alongside him in 2015. And in all honesty, I think it is evidence of how organized systems would operate in terms of bringing those who suspected to be culpable can be brought to book. And you just have to look at how it has been done. Remember in 2015, the US authorities going to Switzerland, Zurich, and arresting FIFA executives and officials, citing or invoking provisions of the US law or legal provisions to be able to then indict the officials for what they called, a criminal enterprise that benefited from, over 20 years, I think it was 25 years at the time, yes, of money being laundered or moving illegally in the name of FIFA. And it was coming to millions of money. And now we are having Blatter, just a year before the end of his suspension of 6 years comes to an end, we are having him again. We are talking about $1 million. $1 million loan to Trinidad and Tobago that was not processed according to the law. Now, again, it was very interesting to read an interview that he had with our colleague, Nigerian Osasu Bayubiana, talking about his time out of football and what Blatter, aged 84 now, he says is he is being accused, in his own words, of bad management. And he says that is his only crime. Now, I mean, there have been several instances where, for example, during his 17-year reign as FIFA president, yes, we had incidents where former Secretary General Jerome Valcke is accused and led to FIFA losing about $90 million, about $100 million, 90 million pounds, through a badly managed sponsorship deal with FIFA FIFA, I think it was involving Visa and MasterCard, where MasterCard were dropped and Visa were introduced, and FIFA ended up losing a colossal amount of money. And the same person ended up being promoted from head of TV and marketing to become Secretary General in the name of Jerome Valke. We know that he's being investigated for the way they conducted affairs during his time as SG of FIFA. So really, coming back to your question, can Kenya be able to open criminal proceedings against individuals suspected to have plundered football money or used money meant for federation activities? My straightforward
Milton,
answer...
in the light of the fact that every time questions are raised about misappropriation or how money is used within the Football Kenya Federation, we are told that is not Kenyan money, that is FIFA money.
And I was going to that, Robin. My straightforward answer is that definitely Kenya can open proceedings against those individuals suspected to have plundered or misappropriated or mismanaged funds that have come from FIFA, which I think has given some people a sense of misguided arrogance that as long as it is FIFA money and FIFA is not complaining, you have no latitude, you have no locus as the Kenyan government or Kenyan authorities to do so. That is misguided. And allow me to make reference to the Constitution of Kenya, specifically Article 2, Subarticle 5 and Subarticle 6. Subarticle 5 talks about the general principles of international law forming part of the Kenyan law. Then Subarticle 6 of Article 2 says that all treaties and conventions that Kenya is a signatory to form part and parcel of the Kenyan law. Now, that for me is the entry point, and that is what domesticates international law and any other regulations within the meaning of international law. That is how they become part of the Kenyan law. And that is how the FIFA statutes, for example, have become applicable within the jurisdiction of the Republic of Kenya. Now, using that, it therefore means that Kenyan authorities, if they feel that there is an element of the FIFA law or the FIFA statutes or any other regulations arising therefrom, the Kenyan authorities have the inherent right to then institute proceedings as the US have done before. And in legal practice, there is something called jurisprudence. Jurisprudence or case law, as it were, then you draw from what has been done as long as there is legal backing or grounding for that to happen. Then I would go further and talk about a law that we have enacted in this country called the POCAMOL, or Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2009, amended in 2017. Yes. And within the POCAMOL, and read together with the FIFA statutes and other regulations, and in this case I would want to refer to the regulations of the FIFA Forward program, where I believe that is where your question arises from. Initially it was called the FIFA Financial Assistance Program, or FAP, so that we then mainstream present and past leadership of the Federation in terms of those criminal proceedings. When you read the regulations of the FIFA Forward, then you would realize that one of the principles, one of the guidelines, yes, is stakeholder engagement. Now, read that against Article 2 of the Kenyan Constitution, read that against Article 10 of the Kenyan Constitution that makes it mandatory for public participation. Public participation, in my view, is what is referred to engagement of stakeholders in the expending of FIFA forward funding. But then, I strongly believe...
But then, Milton,
yes,
you know, you began by saying that if the Kenyan authorities feel, is it that it's left to them to feel, or somebody can prompt them or point towards a misdemeanor or a breaking of the law within the confines of the Constitution and the FIFA statutes?
We have to look at that against how legal instruments are activated. And economic crimes or criminal proceedings can be activated or instituted in two ways. One, there needs to be a complainant, and the state by its own volition can then activate its organs and authorities to be able to institute those kinds of proceedings. So yes, to answer your question, it is either the state itself can move to protect, again, remember, the Constitution of Kenya, I think it is Article 21, 22, and 23, that, you know, it is binding on organs of state and all persons to implement. It is an obligation on even myself as a citizen of this country to then protect the Constitution. Where we feel any other written law for that matter is under threat, we have a duty, we have an obligation. And therefore, to respond to your question, the Kenyan authorities can, on their own volition, but also at the complaint of any stakeholder, any Kenyan. It could be FIFA, it could be FKF, it could be members of the FKF.
Can I complain as a journalist?
I believe you can. I believe you can. And we've seen instances where, for example, I think it is our colleague from Ghana who has been at the center of the storm that we had before the 2014 FIFA World Cup of referees receiving bribes, and that claimed our own Aden Marwa the opportunity to officiate at the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil. So it does not. It is not defined. It is not limited to a particular status for anybody to raise a complaint as far as misuse, misappropriation, or suspected embezzlement of resources is concerned. Now, I would want to put my neck on the guillotine here and pick out or cite specific provisions of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Act that I believe would be invoked in as far as Kenyan authorities can institute proceedings. One, I think that is Article 3, it will be Article 7, Article 11, and Article 12, which are express in terms of how. For example, the question of the outside broadcasting van that we've had complaints about all over the place. I think, Robin, as an individual, you have been on this beat. You have written a law extensively about this issue. And we know that there's an element of crime in that, in terms of how the money was moved. And you would find that within the meaning of the Proceeds of Crime law in this country, you would find that the amounts of money that have been moved would qualify for money laundering, would qualify for
not
proceeds of crime.
It has to be proved. But then maybe to put all that into context, what happened? Because Sept Blatter was removed after the United States prosecutors moved in to cleanse the FIFA house in Zurich. This is what happened. The International Revenue Services of the United States actually opened criminal investigations against FIFA. And the former U.S. Attorney General, she was the Attorney General at the time, that is Loretta Lynch, said at the time that the indictment of those FIFA officials alleges about the allegations on corruption is because of the rampant, systemic, and deep-rooted corruption, both in the U.S. and abroad, and that abroad, of course, would also mean Kenya. And she said that if the people in position of trust cannot account for the monies, as we've seen within Football Kenya Federation, not only now, but even dating back to so many other many years, we've seen that nobody is answerable, Milton. And the question would be that how do we now move? Because something has to be done about how FKF is managed and how the game is managed for the benefit of the youth in this country.
And that is what I have said, Robin, that it stems right from the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. It stems from even the Sports Act itself. It does give provisions, but the wider authorities, because, issues of finance, economic crimes are not just confined to sports. And that is why I believe that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the Director of Public Prosecutions, working with the relevant authorities within the meaning of international law, Interpol and others can institute legal proceedings. For example, giving the example of the case of the OB van, there have been the gold projects that we've had in this country in the past where, for example, even where Kandanda House sits today, there were allegations and counter allegations of misappropriation. I think there was a question of almost 100 million being lost in the process during the term of Mohammed Hatimi, and all these questions have been.
Would you then, Milton, root for a thorough investigation of past regimes of FKF and even today's regime, so as to restore that trust in this institution of the Football Kenya Federation, just as the US has tried to do with the FIFA?
Goes without saying, absolutely. I would not hesitate if the Kenyan authorities would invoke those legal provisions and activate the relevant instruments to be able to bring anybody that is culpable to book. And it is in the best interest of justice that such things happen. When you look at, if you've had the occasion to read through the interview that Sept Blatter had with Osasu, you would find that even at this point in time, Sept Blatter is crying for justice. He's saying he does not believe that he's been treated fairly. Yeah. But you've got to look at the issues at hand. You've got to look at the wheels of justice. And I think I've borrowed this from one of your writings, that those law, eventually they are able to move and everybody is able to be brought to account. So for me, what we need to do, especially in the wake of the legal instruments, the constitution, the beautiful constitution that we have, we've had stakeholders and everybody else talking about certain individuals at FIFA House protecting people who are believed to be undermining Kenyan law. This could be the opportune time to be able to clean up house. Remember, FIFA are also going through their own issues, where FIFA President Gianni Infantino is also being investigated as a result of having unauthorized contact with the prosecutor of the Swiss authorities, Mr. Lober. So I think for me, this could be the opportune time as we sort out the mess that is going through around the electoral justice issues with respect to the Football Kenya Federation elections. This could be the opportune time for the sports registrar, for example, to invoke Article 52 of the Act and cause an inspection.
That process should be on, and we just hope that the authorities will take up that. And then it's important also that they look outside this country to see what is happening out there, because Sept Blatter is now facing those criminal charges that have been preferred against him. I think if it goes to a full conclusion, then maybe justice will be brought. And remember, the IRS head, that's the lead investigator at the time in the United States, that is Richard Weber, said that when leaders in an organization resort to cheating the very members that they are supposed to represent, they must be held to account. And we hope that that will happen with the Kenyan football. Now, let's move to another issue as we head towards the end of this program, that the European club football trophies should already be in store, especially in their cabinets. Instead, most of the top leagues are only just resuming after the coronavirus interruption. While the Germans returned on May 16, the top two Spanish divisions have only just resumed, and the English Premier League and Serie A reappear this week. Milton, the English Premier League returns on Wednesday. What do you think? And also the Serie A will be coming back on Saturday. What do you think about that, Milton?
Well, I think obviously you can see from the reactions that we've had all over social media. I mean, sports enthusiasts, football lovers have been all over the place saying, finally, football is back again. And I mean, it's only good for life. It is only good for sport. And for those of us who love football, for those of us who eat and may pay our bills off sport, I think it is a good thing. Obviously, everybody looking forward to the return of the Premier League because it is a big one.
Do you think Arsenal fans are looking forward to the return? Because on Wednesday, 10 p.m., is it 10:15 p.m., they'll be facing Manchester City.
Well, I mean, of course, it is. What is important, Robin, is that football is coming back, and we will have people kicking the football once again. That is what we have to look forward to. As far as the results are concerned, maybe yes. If you're an Arsenal fan, you would have reason to think that maybe coming up against City would be a big ask of the Gunners. But I mean, everybody has been away for 3 months. So it is anybody's guess to look forward to that. But neither would Manchester United nor Tottenham Hotspur fans, because that will be the big match as well. But I think going by what we have seen, the quality we've seen from La Liga, Barcelona, 4-goal, 4-star performance, Lionel Messi with the double. Real Madrid didn't look as rusty last night against Eibar. So yeah, I honestly believe that we would see good quality, and yeah, it doesn't matter what the outcome would be, as long as the football is back and we are able to pay our bills off it, whether Arsenal or United win or lose. At the end of the day, it is about the money.
Okay, and as you may be aware, the German Bundesliga could be won tomorrow. Bayern Munich will be in action, and if they win tomorrow, they could be up for that celebration. And as I can see, my colleagues Trix Ingado is here, and Michael Gitonga. You've been following this, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of sport this week, Mike.
Absolutely, and it's really going to be strange for me. Still cannot imagine how stadiums are going to be completely empty, but football goes on. But hey, it's a new normal and more to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure when it comes to fans, it doesn't matter as long as they get to follow it whatever way. So it's pretty good that we have technology that can make that a possibility. But that is the extent of my sports knowledge.
Just sit back and watch on Wednesday, Manchester City versus Arsenal. I know they'll provide good entertainment.
Yeah, for sure. I will try and follow that. But that aside, we've come to the end of this show, and I'd like to wish you a very productive day ahead. And remember to stay safe. My name is Trix Ingado.
My name is Michael Gitonga. Do have yourselves a wonderful day. See you tomorrow.